The quieter you become, the more you can hear. They won't tell you this, but the truth is, most people don't listen to understand. They listen to respond. And that's why so many connections feel shallow, forgettable, empty. But what if I told you, you don't need to be rich, famous, or insanely good-looking to become the kind of person someone thinks about non-stop? You just need to speak to their soul, not their ego. Hey folks, imagine this. You're sitting across from someone you really care about. You're talking, laughing, maybe sipping coffee. But instead of just making noise, you ask a question, not a random, "How was your day?" type of question. No, you drop something deep, something they didn't expect. And suddenly, the air changes. Their eyes light up. Their walls come down. It's like you've unlocked a door in their mind that nobody else ever bothered to knock on. That, my friends, is power. And that's how you become unforgettable. Most people think attraction or connection is built through charm, looks, or trying hard to impress. That's a lie. It's noise sold to you by movies, influencers, and dating gurus who've never touched real emotion. Real connection, the kind that lingers in someone's mind, isn't built by talking more. It's built by going deeper, by asking the kind of questions that echo in their soul hours later, questions that make them pause, reflect, feel. Because when you ask someone something meaningful, something nobody else thought to ask, you don't just make conversation, you make impact. You see, asking the right question is like planting a seed, not in their mind, but in their heart. And as they go about their day, that seed grows, quietly, steadily. They think about your words while they're stuck in traffic, brushing their teeth, lying awake at night. You become a thought they can't shake. People don't remember what you said. They remember how you made them feel. And when you make someone feel understood, valued, safe to be themselves, you become a rare presence in a world full of noise. Let me put it this way. Small talk is like sugar water, quick hit, no depth. But ask the right question, and you give them something like aged wine. It lingers, it deepens with time. Like the old saying goes, speak only if it improves upon the silence. So today, we're not here to impress. We're here to connect. We're going to uncover 7 powerful questions that, when asked the right way, make someone think about you non-stop. Not because you're trying to manipulate, but because you're showing up differently, with intention, with presence, with quiet power. This isn't about being loud. This is about being felt. Because at the end of the day, folks, the most attractive person in the room is the one who knows how to create silence between the words and still be remembered. So stay with me, because by the end of this, you'll know exactly how to make someone pause mid-conversation and think, who are you? Let's wake them up. Let's shift how you speak. Let's stop chasing and start attracting. Drop this in the comments if you're ready to stand out. Quiet presence, loud impact. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and stay with me, because we're just getting started. Question 1. What's something you've never told anyone, but wish someone asked? The strongest people aren't those who show strength in front of us, but those who win battles we never see. Let's hit this straight. Most people are walking around with heavy stories trapped behind tired smiles. Secrets they've buried deep because no one ever asked, and even if someone did, they weren't really listening. They were just waiting for their turn to talk. Imagine someone walking through life like a closed book, worn-out cover, pages torn, scribbled with pain, chapters no one's read. Then one day, someone sits across from them, and instead of asking what their favorite color is or what they do for work, they lean in and say, "What's something you've never told anyone, but wish someone asked?" Boom. The world pauses. That question. It's not small talk. It's not safe. It's not easy. It's a mirror, a key, a light in a place that's been dark for years. But I get it. Maybe you're thinking, won't that be too much, too deep? What if they pull away? Listen, that fear you feel, that hesitation, it's the same fear they've been living with. Afraid to be judged, afraid to open up and be left hanging, afraid they'll finally speak their truth, and the other person will just nod and move on, like it didn't mean anything. But this is where you rise. This is where you become different from the rest of the world that's obsessed with shallow. Because you're not here to play safe. You're here to leave a mark. And no one forgets the person who made them feel safe enough to be real. Most people won't go here. They're scared of silence, scared of depth, scared of what might come out when they ask the kind of question that shakes the soul a little. But here's the truth, my friend. People crave depth, even if they run from it. They want someone to see them without filters, without pretense, without the masks they've worn for years. This question, it's a lifeline. And sure, it's uncomfortable. You'll feel tension in the air when you ask it. You might even see them hesitate, look away, take a breath. But that moment, that pause, is sacred. Because right there, you're giving them something most people never do. Space to be human. You become the first person who didn't ask what they do, but who they are. And that's unforgettable. Now don't get it twisted. This isn't about digging for trauma or being nosy. This is about giving someone the freedom to share what they've been carrying, without trying to fix them, impress them, or analyze them. A Stoic doesn't chase emotions. He holds space for them, calm, steady, still. This is where connection lives, not in perfect answers, but in brave questions. You might be thinking, but what if they're not ready? Then you wait. You respect their silence. You let your presence speak louder than words. Because sometimes, just asking the question plants a seed. And days later, maybe even weeks, they'll come back and say, "Remember when you asked me that thing? I've been thinking about it." That's the power of presence. You're not just someone they talk to. You're someone who saw through them. That's the kind of person they remember. That's the kind of moment that sticks. Because when you ask, what's something you've never told anyone, but wish someone asked? You're not just starting a conversation. You're opening a door. And some doors lead straight to the heart. So ask the question. Be still. Let it breathe. This is how you separate yourself from 99% of the world, by being the 1% who isn't afraid to feel, to ask, to care. Remember this: the surface is crowded, the depth is free. Show the world you're not afraid to go there. Show them you don't just speak, you see. Drop this in the comments if you're ready to be unforgettable. Depth over noise. And don't stop here. This was only the first. The next one, it's going to flip the way they look at their entire life. Stay with me. We're going deeper. Question 2. What's one moment you wish you could relive just to feel it again? People will forget what you said. People will forget what you did. But they will never forget how you made them feel. Let me tell you something real. We're all walking through life chasing feelings we once had, but didn't know how precious they were at the time. That one summer night, that felt endless, that laugh that made the world disappear, that quiet moment of peace we didn't know we'd miss until it was gone. Everyone has one, a moment they'd give anything to relive, not to change it, not to fix it, just to feel it one more time. That's where this question hits. Not in the mind, but in the heart. When you look at someone and ask, "What's one moment you wish you could relive just to feel it again?" You don't just make them think, you make them travel, emotionally, viscerally. Suddenly, they're not in front of you anymore. They're back in that exact second, with all 5 senses lit up. Maybe they'll remember a day they felt truly free, running barefoot on a beach with the wind in their hair. Maybe it's a childhood dinner table full of laughter and warmth, where no one was checking their phones. Maybe it's a look in someone's eyes they once loved, someone they can't forget. Whatever it is, you've now pulled them into a space most people don't dare to go. And they didn't expect that from you. That's what makes it powerful. That's what makes you unforgettable. Most people are stuck in autopilot. Talk, scroll, eat, sleep, repeat. But you just woke something up in them. You just reminded them they're human, that they feel. And let me tell you this, my friend, people don't chase looks, status, or smooth lines. They chase feeling, because we're all just trying to feel something real in a world that's gone numb. Now, I know what might be running through your mind. Isn't this too deep? Won't it catch them off guard? Yeah, it will. And that's exactly the point. You're not here to blend in. You're here to wake people up. This question isn't about perfection or planning. It's about emotion. And when you can create emotion, you create memory. That's the game. Some will laugh when they answer. Some will get quiet. Some might even tear up a little. Let them. That's when you know the question hit something real. That's when you know you reached them. But here's the key. You don't rush to fill the silence. You don't try to cheer them up or change the subject. You sit with it. That's where the power is. That's what separates you from the ones who only care about being interesting, while you're being interested. A Stoic doesn't fear emotion. He respects it. He doesn't flinch when the moment gets real. He stays grounded, like a mountain in the middle of a storm. And when someone feels safe in your presence, they remember you, not just with their mind, with their soul. You see, asking about the moment they want to relive isn't about the past. It's about revealing what they value most. Was it love? Was it freedom? Was it connection, family, laughter, innocence, peace? When they answer, they're not just sharing nostalgia. They're telling you what they miss, what they long for, what they want more of. And if you can reflect even a piece of that in how you show up, they will gravitate toward you, without trying, without games. Because now, when they think of that cherished moment, they'll remember you as the one who brought it back to life. And that's powerful. That's rare. Most people live on the surface. They throw compliments and small talk like confetti, hoping one of them lands. But the people who stay in your mind, they're the ones who ask the kind of question that opens a window inside you. A window to joy, to peace, to loss, to longing. That's the kind of presence that haunts in the best way. So ask it. Ask with intention, ask with presence, and then just listen. Let them relive it, let them feel it, and whatever they say, respond with presence, not performance. You're not there to impress, you're there to witness. And when the moment ends, you'll see it in their eyes. You became more than just another conversation. You became a memory tied to a memory, a feeling within a feeling. That's not just rare, that's magnetic. Say it with me in the comments if you're ready to be that kind of presence. I create emotion. Because you do. You will. And what's coming next? It'll show you how to break through their walls without ever raising your voice. Stay with me. We're just getting started. Question 3. What do you think people misunderstand about you the most? To be seen is the most rare and powerful gift we can offer another soul. Let's be honest, folks. Most people are misunderstood. Not because they're confusing, not because they're complicated, but because no one ever slows down long enough to actually see them. People are quick to assume, quick to label, quick to box you into a version of you that feels comfortable for them, not true to you. And the truth is, we all carry stories no one's heard, sides no one's seen, and thoughts we've learned to hide just to survive this loud, judgmental world. So when you ask someone, what do you think people misunderstand about you the most? You're not just asking a question, you're offering a moment of truth, a moment they didn't even know they needed. Think of a person walking through life wearing invisible armor, smiling when they're exhausted, being the strong one because nobody expects them to break, always joking because people assume they're carefree. But deep down, they're screaming to be understood. They're dying for someone to notice what's beneath the mask. And then you come along, not to judge, not to fix, but to ask. That's how you become unforgettable. Because you're no longer just someone in the room. You're the only one who actually looked through the noise. But I get it. You might be thinking, won't this make things heavy? Maybe. But heavy isn't bad. Heavy means real. And real is rare. In a world full of filters and facades, asking someone this question is like handing them a mirror they've avoided for years. And trust me, most people are starving for someone to care enough to even ask. Because this isn't small talk, this is soul talk. You'll be surprised at what comes out. Some people will share the pain of always being seen as cold when they're really just guarded. Others will talk about being labeled too emotional when all they ever wanted was to feel safe enough to express. And some won't even know how to answer at first because no one's ever asked. That silence, that hesitation, that's the wall cracking. That's the real person slowly stepping into the light. And here's where the Stoic wisdom kicks in. Your job isn't to fix. Your job is to receive. Don't jump in with advice. Don't try to relate by making it about you. Just listen. Let them unravel without fear of being judged. A Stoic doesn't rush. He doesn't react. He simply holds the space, calmly and fully, because that in itself is healing. You see, when someone feels misunderstood, they feel alone. But the second you show them they're seen, they start to soften, to trust, to connect. And now, every time they feel misunderstood by the world, their mind will wander back to you, the person who got it, the person who didn't flinch. That's the kind of presence that lingers. That's how you live rent-free in someone's mind, not by being loud, but by being real. You also learn something priceless with this question, what someone deeply wants to be seen for. That's powerful, because if they say, people think I'm cold, but I'm actually really sensitive, guess what they value? Vulnerability. If they say, people think I'm lazy, but I overthink everything, now you know their mind never rests. This question reveals not just their pain, but their essence, their truth, their humanity. Most people never go there. They skim the surface, looking for validation, approval, or entertainment. But the moment you create depth, you create meaning, and people crave meaning more than anything else. They just don't always know how to ask for it. So when you show up as the person who brings it to them, you're not just someone they like, you're someone they trust. And that kind of trust, it doesn't fade. This isn't about manipulation. It's not about making someone open up so you can feel powerful. It's about creating space so they can feel human. And in a world that's constantly rushing, distracted and disconnected, that's power. The quiet kind, the rare kind. So don't be afraid to ask this. Don't be afraid to go there. The people worth connecting with will never forget how it felt to finally be seen without having to scream for it. The rest? Let them stay on the surface. Say it with me in the comments if you're ready to stop blending in. I see beyond masks. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world that you're not here to be loud. You're here to be felt. And what's coming next? It's the kind of question that makes them dream with their eyes wide open. Stay with me. We're just warming up. Question 4. If fear didn't exist, what would you do tomorrow? Everything you've ever wanted is sitting on the other side of fear. Let's talk about fear, the quiet thief, the invisible hand that holds people back from becoming who they really are. It doesn't scream, it whispers. It tells you to play it safe. It tells you you're not ready. It tells you to stay in your lane. Keep your head down. Don't try too hard. Don't fly too high. And before you know it, people are living lives that don't belong to them. They wake up tired. Not because they're doing too much, but because they're doing too little of what makes them feel alive. And then you walk into their life and ask a question that stops the autopilot. If fear didn't exist, what would you do tomorrow? Suddenly, the gears turn. The mind wakes up. The soul leans forward. You're not just asking a question. You're offering a ticket out of the cage they didn't know they were still trapped in. You're cracking open a door to a version of themselves they've buried beneath excuses, hesitation, and past wounds. And when they hear that question, when they actually sit with it, you'll see it. The flicker in their eyes, the pause, the shift. You just shook something loose, something real. Because here's the truth, my friends. Every person you meet is carrying a dream that fear has silenced. Some wanted to start a business. Some wanted to sing. Some wanted to travel the world, learn to dance, fall in love again, walk away from a toxic job, or simply tell the truth for once. But fear wrapped itself around their potential and said, "Not you, not yet." And they believed it, because fear is sneaky. It disguises itself as logic. It wears the mask of caution. And so people shrink, they settle, and they forget that bravery was ever an option. So when you show up and ask, if fear didn't exist, what would you do? You're not just sparking a conversation, you're starting a fire. You're putting their feet back in the land of possibilities. And whether they say they quit their job, write a book, start over in a new country, or simply tell someone how they really feel, the answer they give you will always reveal something deeper. Their longings, their truth, their buried self. But here's what makes you different. You don't judge the answer. You don't mock the dream. You honor it. A Stoic knows fear is a part of life, but he doesn't bow to it. He listens to it, respects it, but moves through it anyway. Because strength isn't the absence of fear. It's action in the face of it. And when someone feels that from you, that calm steadiness, that quiet courage, they begin to believe again. Not just in the dream, but in themselves. Some people might answer you with a laugh. "I don't know, travel the world or something," they'll say, trying to brush it off. But don't let them off the hook so easily. Ask again. "Really? Nothing else?" And you'll see it. The smile fades. The truth rises. They'll say, "Actually, yeah, there is something." And then the real answer comes out, the one they've never said out loud, because it felt too big, too wild, too risky. That's when the moment becomes electric. That's when the connection becomes real. Because when you awaken someone's dream, even for a moment, you become part of it. They'll start imagining you in their future, beside them, cheering them on, reminding them who they really are. Not because you're pushing, but because you believed in them when fear told them not to. You're not just having a chat. You're becoming a mirror, reflecting the version of themselves they thought was lost forever. And let's be honest, this is where most people pull back. They're afraid to go too deep, too real, too fast. But you lean in. You ask what fear tried to bury. You stand in the fire without flinching. That's what makes you unforgettable. That's what makes you magnetic. So don't be afraid to ask this. Don't fear the discomfort it might bring. Lean into it. And when they give you their answer, listen like it matters, because it does. To them, to their future, and to the version of you that came here to be more than ordinary. Say it with me in the comments if you're done letting fear win. Fear does not lead. You've just lit a spark in someone's soul. And what's coming next? It's the kind of question that makes them see you not just as someone to talk to, but someone who might just change the way they live. Stay with me. This is just getting better. Question 5. What kind of energy do you want to be around for the rest of your life? You become like the 5 people you spend the most time with. Choose wisely. Let's get something straight. People don't fall in love with faces. They fall in love with energy, the vibe, the presence, the way you feel when you're around someone, the calm in their voice, the warmth in their silence, the peace they bring just by being there. And when you ask someone, what kind of energy do you want to be around for the rest of your life? You're not just asking about preferences, you're asking about values, about vision, about the future. See, most conversations are stuck in the now. What do you do? How was your weekend? Small talk that barely grazes the surface. But this question makes them think long-term. It makes them imagine the people they want to build their world with, the energy they want to come home to, the feeling they want to wake up next to. You're not asking who they're dating, you're asking what they're building. And that's a whole different frequency. But be ready, because when you ask this, the room shifts. There's a pause, a breath, a flash of memory, or maybe a flicker of hope, because everyone has experienced energy that drained them, used them, betrayed them, or left them feeling invisible. And deep down, we all crave something more, something real, stable, and safe. So when you ask this question, you're not just starting a conversation, you're becoming a space of reflection. They might say they want peaceful energy, loyal energy, playful energy, ambitious energy, the kind of energy that doesn't make them second-guess their worth. And the moment they say it out loud, something happens. Their subconscious starts scanning you. Do you bring this? Do you match this? Are you the kind of presence I could actually be around for the rest of my life? This is where people mess up. They think connection is about showing off, being impressive, saying the right thing. But connection, real connection, is about resonance. Can they feel you? Can they breathe easier around you? Can they be themselves without shrinking? That's energy, and that's what lasts. So while others are busy showing their highlight reels, you just changed the entire game. You went straight to the core, and now they're not just listening, they're imagining. Imagining what it would be like to have your energy in their everyday life, to laugh with it, to build with it, to lean on it when the world gets too loud. That's the power of this question. You didn't ask them who they want, you asked them what they need. And when you align with that, game over. But here's the real challenge. You can't fake energy. You either live it or you don't. If they say they want calm energy and you're always reactive, they'll feel the disconnect. If they say they want joy, but you only know how to complain, they'll sense it. A Stoic man knows that alignment isn't about pretending, it's about becoming. He doesn't rush to say, "Yeah, that's me." He listens, reflects, and lets his actions speak. Because real energy is silent but undeniable. It's in your posture, your tone, the way you handle stress, the way you listen, the way you don't flinch when someone shows you their truth. When you ask this question and live the answer, that's when someone starts seeing you not just as someone interesting, but as someone essential. They start wondering, where has this person been? Not because you said something slick, but because you made them feel something solid, something they can trust, something they want to keep around. That's the level we're on now. Not chasing, not convincing, just being. And if you really want to stand out, take it one step further. After they answer, ask, and how do you protect that energy once you find it? That's when they'll look at you differently. That's when they'll see you not just as someone passing by, but as someone who gets it. Because anyone can want good energy, but very few know how to protect it. Very few know how to be it. You do. Say it with me in the comments if you're done being noise and ready to be peace. I am the energy. This question opens the door to their future. But what's coming next? It's going to reach into the small things, the quiet moments that make people feel alive in ways they never expected. Stay close. We're going even deeper. Question 6. What's something simple that makes you feel completely alive? Joy is not in things, it is in us. In a world obsessed with chasing more success, more money, more attention, most people forget how to feel alive in the now. They trade joy for noise, peace for performance, presence for productivity. But deep down, what we're really searching for isn't more. It's meaning. It's the little sparks that remind us we're human. And when you ask someone, what's something simple that makes you feel completely alive? You're cutting through the noise and guiding them back home. Not to a memory, not to a goal, but to their soul. You're asking them what lights them up when nobody's watching. What brings that quiet kind of happiness, the one that doesn't need to be posted, validated, or explained? It might seem like a light question, but don't be fooled. This one hits deep. Because most people are so disconnected from themselves, they haven't even thought about it. Their joy is buried under a checklist. Their spirit is running on fumes. So when you ask this, they pause. They look up. And suddenly, they're searching inside, not out. Maybe it's the sound of rain at 3 a.m. Maybe it's walking barefoot on grass. Maybe it's singing in the car, or making someone laugh so hard they cry. Maybe it's the smell of their grandma's kitchen, or the peace they feel when they're painting, writing, running, or just being. Whatever it is, it's sacred, because it's theirs. And you, my friend, just gave them permission to remember it. Here's the powerful part. When someone answers this, They don't just feel good in the moment. They associate that feeling with you. You become the person who reminded them of who they are when they're not trying to be anything. That's rare. That's magnetic. That's what most people never experience, because everyone else is too busy trying to impress, trying to entertain, trying to be liked. But you're not here for that. You're here for truth, for feeling, for connection. You're not trying to take anything. You're giving something: space, safety, presence. That's unforgettable. And here's where the Stoic part comes in. A Stoic doesn't chase happiness. He notices it, in the silence, in the stillness, in the smallest things. He doesn't need external chaos to feel alive, because he's built peace within. And when someone answers your question, you don't just nod and move on. You ask why. You go deeper. What is it about that moment that makes you feel so alive? Now you're unlocking emotions they didn't even realize were there. Now you're guiding them into a part of themselves they've ignored for too long. You're not just having a conversation, you're waking up their spirit. Some people might laugh it off at first. I don't know, maybe coffee and a good book. But when you stay present, when you ask again with curiosity, you'll see the shift. They'll stop giving you the answer they think you want and start giving you the answer they didn't even know they had. That's where the magic happens. That's when you move from stranger to memory, from a moment to a mark. And here's the secret. The thing that makes them feel alive tells you everything about them. If it's adventure, they crave freedom. If it's music, they live through emotion. If it's silence, they've probably been through chaos. You're not just hearing answers, you're reading their soul. And when you see someone like that, they feel it. They know it. They remember it. Because nobody else bothered to look past the surface. So ask it. Ask with your whole presence. Let the silence stretch. Let the answer land. Let it breathe. And when they smile, when their voice softens, when they light up even just a little, you'll know you've reached something real. And they'll never forget it. Because in a world that pushes people to do more, you reminded them how to feel more. Say it with me in the comments if you're done chasing and ready to start feeling. Joy lives in me. This question was about small things, but the next one, it goes right to the core. It's the kind of question that makes someone stop and ask, when did I stop being me? Stay right here. What comes next could change everything. Question 7. When do you feel most like yourself? To know yourself as the being behind the thinker, the stillness underneath the noise, this is freedom. This one hits different, because this question isn't about what they do, what they like, or even what they want. It's about who they are. And most people, they haven't been asked that in years, if ever. When you look someone in the eyes and ask, when do you feel most like yourself? You're not just asking for a moment. You're asking for their truth, their raw, unfiltered, unmasked identity, the version of them that doesn't perform, doesn't shrink, doesn't hide. The version that breathes deeper, laughs louder, and walks lighter. The version that feels free. And most people, sadly, have forgotten what that even feels like. We live in a world that trains people to become versions of themselves that are easier to digest. Be more polite, be less intense, don't be too emotional, don't be too quiet. Fit in, smile, nod, say what's safe. So people start to shapeshift. They become chameleons, mirroring what others expect just to belong. And with every shift, every silent compromise, a little piece of who they really are fades into the background. Until one day, they wake up surrounded by people who know their habits, their job title, their favorite show, but not their soul. Not the part of them that only comes alive when they feel truly safe. And that's where you come in. You ask the question that cuts through all of it. You don't want the highlight reel. You don't want the curated version. You want the real thing, the messy, beautiful, human core of who they are when the world isn't watching. And when you ask that question, there's always a pause. Always a moment where they tilt their head, look away, smile softly and say something like, "Wow, I've never really thought about that." That's when you know. That's when the walls begin to fall. They might tell you they feel most like themselves when they're in nature, barefoot in the dirt, no notifications, no expectations, just silence and sun. Or maybe it's when they're with someone who truly gets them, someone who lets them speak without editing every word in their head. Maybe it's when they're creating something, writing, painting, dancing, doing something that lets them forget the world and remember who they are. Whatever their answer is, it's gold, because it reveals their peace, their essence. And when you know where someone feels most like themselves, you're holding the map to their soul. But here's what most people get wrong. They think being themselves is something that just happens. It's not. It's something that needs space, safety, stillness. And when you become that space, when your energy gives them the freedom to drop the act and just be, that's when they start to connect with you on a whole other level. Because it's not about you being flashy or impressive. It's about you being real enough to make them feel real too. And that's unforgettable. A Stoic doesn't rush this moment. He doesn't try to force an answer or hijack the spotlight. He simply creates the silence where the truth can rise. And when it does, he holds it gently, not to control it, but to honor it. Because this is sacred ground. This is the moment where connection turns into trust, and trust turns into bond. You're no longer just someone they're talking to. You're someone who saw them, really saw them. And in a world full of people who only look at the surface, being seen is everything. This question doesn't just bring them closer to you, it brings them closer to themselves. And sometimes that's the most beautiful thing you can give another person, a chance to remember who they were before the world told them who to be. And when they find that part of themselves in your presence, they'll keep coming back. Not because they need you to complete them, but because you remind them of the person they were always meant to be. Say it with me in the comments. If you're ready to be the one who sees deeper, I see the real. What comes next isn't just about memory or feeling or identity. It's about touching a moment so powerful, so pure, it changes the way they see life itself. Stay with me. The final one is everything.